day, everyone. Michele Granberg here. Welcome to another episode of Positive Energy, bringing enlightening television for your evolving soul. In the United States, approximately 1.4 million adults identify as transgender. The life of a transgender person can be vastly challenging and rife with discrimination. However, it can be joyful, triumphant, and liberating. On this show, I'm joined by Tracys and Oliver Farquhar. They're here to share their inspiring transgender story as a journey of personal growth and self-acceptance. Take a deep breath and stay where you are, because positive energy starts right now. So I'm here with Oliver and Tracy Farquhar. Welcome and thank you for being on Positive Energy.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah.
So Oliver, this is about you today, your story. So could you just tell us, first of all, how old are you?
I'm 17.
Excellent. And you just graduated high school?
Yes.
Congratulations on graduation. Woohoo.
Thank you.
So in your words, what does it mean to be transgender?
I'd say that being transgender means to be someone that other people don't see you as in terms of gender. Like the way you're perceived outside isn't how you are inside. And it's just a sort of expression, a difference in yourself that a lot of other people don't really get. But it's the switch from what you were born as to what you really are.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great answer. I love that. So go back and tell us a little bit about what led you to this realization about your childhood and how you came to realize that you considered yourself transgender.
Well, I went through a lot of phases in my childhood. Like, I really like to label myself, and I went through like tomboy and then like more feminine. I tried with all of that, and then when I was really young, I realized that I had an attraction to girls. So a while it was a lesbian, and then I realized a while later that didn't feel right. So then I had like a struggle with sexuality before realizing that the problem was more in like identity. And so that was, I would say, in like my freshman year of high school was when I realized that the like shift that I was experiencing was just that I wasn't exactly like cisgender. I was more, first I went on more the non-binary scale, like outside of the gender binary, and then I just went through like the motions of going through more labels for my gender identity for a while throughout high school before settling on transgender male because I could identify the masculine sense of it.
It's quite a journey already. Here we are. Aren't we all on that in a parallel way, trying to discover who we are, really, and live into that as a truth? And others are going to label us whatever they're going to label us, but we get to choose, right, our identity and our label if we even need to do so. But really important to know who we are. Yeah, so that's awesome. So Tracy, you obviously, as mom, been along for the ride, the ups and the downs, the whole way. And I know what a loving and supportive mom you are. Thanks. But would you share what your initial response was when you observed or spoke, and what's been your role in Oliver's journey?
Well, I think my initial response was just that I wanted him to feel comfortable with himself in every stage of this journey. And so my role was to help facilitate that as much as I could. And what I have come to understand is that I didn't need to understand all of it and every step of the way because it's not my journey. And so I can't always relate to what Oliver has been going through, but I can always find it in myself to respect his sense of identity and where he is on that journey. So I think that was the most important thing for me to do for him, is to offer support and respect and hold the space for him to, kind of step into the most comfortable identity that he could. And here he is, right?
It's wonderful. It's a journey for you too, of course, to be able to be with whatever comes up for you and recognize what's your stuff and what you might be projecting, and to clear and separate from that and hold that unconditional space for Oliver to just be who he is and figure that out for himself.
Right.
I love this message of we don't need to understand, but we want to respect is so much more important than understanding even, sometimes at least. So how about now, as your feelings have also evolved along the way, has anything changed, even further evolved in the way that you feel? Truthfully, is there any fears or concerns that do come up for you that are either grounded in practicality, real stuff, or even your own bias or stuff that comes up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we've been so blessed because we've had such a wonderful support system with therapists, and we've been going to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which has been wonderful.
Shout out to them.
Mm-hmm. The Gender Studies Clinic has been awesome. And, so, and even Oliver's high school was really wonderful in how they are accepting and really facilitating people who are identifying as trans or gay. And Oliver actually played a big role with helping them to understand that. And so
A legacy already.
Right.
At
So
17.
this is the thing that I've witnessed emerging in Oliver, is that it's become his journey now to help other people with their own journeys. And so he's off to Rowan University to study psychology and wants to be a therapist for transgender youth. Yes.
Oh, so doesn't that already speak to some larger, bigger picture in all of this, divinely orchestrated, right? No coincidences. You finding your voice, right? Who you are, and then of course the next step being sharing and helping others as well and serving. I just love that. So back to you, Oliver. Then tell us, what are the most, in your view, common misconceptions that you've personally encountered and that others experience in the transgender community?
There's a really heavily set misconception, especially for younger transgender people, that this is just a phase, and that it can be harmful for transgender kids to say they're transgender because it's a label, and there's some mental pressure on you when you're labeled as transgender. However, I found that even if this is a kid going through a phase of exploring their gender identity, that shouldn't be something that's frowned upon, because it's still self-exploration. It's something that youth are going to think about, especially in this modern age. It's something that is becoming more wildly common, so I think it should be more accepted. Even if this is a phase, it's something that the parents should consider and accept and support. And with thinking it's harmful, I think it's more harmful to silence that type of identity rather than just accept it and just go with it, because thinking this is just a phase and you're hurting yourself is going to be more damaging on a child or a teenager, rather than just saying, I don't understand this, but I'm going to support you otherwise because it's what you deserve,
Absolutely. I love that. And to take it seriously, and to, no matter what anybody says, to have a conversation about it. Everything means something. So, and not to minimize or discount anybody. There are feelings. Feelings are feelings, right? So have you personally experienced any discrimination or judgment?
I've experienced a lot of confusion and sort of challenging, I don't believe you in this sort of way. People thinking that in the beginning of it they don't get it, or they were I liked you better when you weren't. When you identified as just a lesbian, I thought you were better. Things like that. Or I don't think this is something you should be indulging in because you're so young. I've gotten that kind of thing. Or just I don't get this. Overall I don't get your identity.
Has that been mainly from your peers or from adults?
From a mix of the two, just a general sense of not understanding, a general sense of not liking the identity when I'm open about it. I've experienced that a few times.
Well, just the fact that you're able to articulate that so just matter-of-factly in some ways, even though I imagine you probably felt something at the time and struggled with not taking it personally, and maybe talked to mom about that when things were happening. Looking back on that, how do you think you handled it, and how would you handle it now and continue to handle those kinds of things as they arise? Because they will. Adults are not perfect either, strangely enough. They have all kinds of baggage. My gosh.
Well, I think in the moment of that kind of thing happening, it was easy for me to get upset, just thinking about it, or just wishing it could be easier for people to understand, because it's something that I understand very well about myself, and it's not something I want to spend a lot of time explaining to every person. It would just be easier if they just took it as they would. But I found that if people ask me questions, even invasive questions, I can still answer them. People are just often curious, and I don't mind if they want to ask questions in a positive light. Even things that might be pushing the edge, I can still give them my time of day. And also, I find that I think it's better to answer that kind of thing with a more positive mindset, rather than just getting upset and in your own head, I tend to do sometimes. It's just better to understand that people who think like that or talk like that will never really get it. You know, when you're not transgender, you'll never really get the experience of being transgender. So it's not really like my job to put my all into them accepting me. It's more their job to work out how they're gonna like deal with this kind of thing, you know.
You must be so proud. That's such a great perspective for everyone, no matter what their struggles are, right? That it's not our job to fix anyone or even to change their minds. Very often we can't. That's their journey. And often people, when they're around someone who's really comfortable in their own skin, makes them uncomfortable because it holds a mirror up to how comfortable am I in my own skin, and with people who are different or whatever they might label them. So it's our job to not our job to educate, but I'm sure there's lots of those little moments where you step in, but you have to feel your way into it, whether they're open. So I know you're relatively in the beginning of your physical transition, the actual transition to male, about a year in, you said. So with the medical and therapeutic support that you've had lots of, you start taking testosterone, so your face, your voice, your general figure your appearance starts to become more masculine. So what's been the most challenging and surprising part of that?
I think the most challenging part is the mood swings, because I knew they would happen before taking them, but they're very intense when you're taking hormones in your body, and they're sometimes difficult to manage because they can come like full force. It's like puberty, you know, it's another puberty, so you get mood swings.
Oh,
and
great.
You get,
Second puberty.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and it can be really difficult to manage it. But taking it for like a year now, it's leveled out more, but it still can be a big hit of mood swings sometimes.
So on the other end of that, what's been the best part of it? What's been the most exciting for you?
I've noticed, like, as I noticed, like, my body changing, my voice changing, it just roused a new sense of confidence I've never had before in myself, like a new sense of purpose and, like, this, like, general ease with myself that I hadn't gotten before. And just, even with, like, all the difficulties of taking a hormone, just the confidence and, like, the happiness and, like, the self-worth that I got from it has definitely been the best part of it.
I love that. I love that they go hand in hand together, right? Worth all the side effects, the temporary side effects in that regard.
Definitely.
Wow, good for you.
Thank you.
So I know you might have a few things to say that you've discovered regarding the nature of what is considered masculine and what's considered feminine, given that you've straddled both and been on both sides. So what do you say about that?
I think the way that we perceive masculinity and femininity as a whole can be really, like, limiting. Like, there's boxes of what those two terms are supposed to mean that we're supposed to fall into, and I myself, I don't try to be, like, super masculine even as a transgender boy, because I don't feel happy, you know, just constantly trying to just be masculine, because, you know, there's so much fun in exploring femininity. Even if you feel like you're a man, and you can still explore that kind of thing. And I think, you know, there should just be more exception for exploration for gender, because even, like, cisgender people think they're stuck on this, like, certain place for their identity, and even transgender people, it's, like, pushed onto us that we have to be a certain way if we are saying we're a man or a woman. But I think that shouldn't be in place at all. I think we should be free to express ourselves in any way we see fit. I don't think, like, clothing should be as gendered. I don't think makeup should be as gendered. I think we should just be able to explore ourselves without judgment or without labels.
That is radical. I mean, I don't find it radical personally, but I can just hear people thinking how radical that is, that what we're on the verge of is this huge paradigm shift of what gender is, what masculine is, what feminine is, and that it's more fluid. Would you say fluid?
Yes, I would say
than we could ever even
Absolutely.
begin to conceptualize.
Yes.
So you're a little on the leading edge of that, you and others, and the rest of us too.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool stuff. So let's say someone out there watching this is struggling similar journey to you. What would you like them to know? What comfort, what words might you provide?
I would say that the beginning of this journey is always hard, and it's always going to be scary and daunting to realize this about yourself. But the thing is, like, going through this experience and knowing this about yourself makes you know so much more than other people will, and it makes you so in tune with yourself. And the best thing to do is just explore it with everything you have, and don't feel limited to anything, because the best thing about being transgender is opening up your mind to everything that you didn't think you could do before that you can now, and being the type of person that you know that you can be. There's nothing that you have to do. It's all about what you personally think of yourself and what you want to be. And you shouldn't feel like you have to be anything else but yourself when you realize this, regardless of what other people think.
Yeah, beautiful. And that, I'm sure that mirrors your journey, as you're saying that, the journey from self-doubt perhaps, from questioning, not that you're all the way at the end of your journey 100% all the time of confident and self-acceptance, but would you say you're so much closer to that than you ever were?
Definitely.
Oh, I love that. And I'm sure Mom helps along with that as well. How about for the parents and siblings? You have a sibling.
I do.
You have a sister,
Mm-hmm.
Gemma.
Yes.
So what message would you offer to other parents and siblings that would be most helpful and supportive to the person?
I would say that, again, you're never going to understand this completely if you're not transgender, and it's not your job to get it, it's just your job to provide support. And even if you're scared about this and you don't get it and you're confused, the best thing is to ask questions and do research and show love. You know, the most you can do for your trans kids is to show them that you see them and that you love them. Because if you don't give that support and you just antagonize them and question them and refuse to acknowledge it, you're going to hurt your child in the long run. So the best thing is to just provide them support and a place where they can talk about what they're going through. And you don't have to get it. You just have to be there for them in the long run.
Yeah. Beautiful message. Love, support, listen.
Yeah.
Listen, right? Provide that safe space. So, Tracy, to you then, what do you, as a transparent, as a parent of, say to transgender sons and daughter, what would you want those parents to know about their sons and daughters?
Well, I think just what Oliver said, you know, it's the way I parent both of my children is to be, you know, as I've said to them in the past, I'm the tour guide. Yeah. You know, I'm not here to dictate what your life is supposed to be or who you're supposed to be. I'm here to help you navigate your own path. And so I think the most important thing for any parent, but especially for a parent of a trans child, is, you know, to be there to support them, to hold the space for them, to be the shoulder for them, to be the sounding board, to understand as much as you can, but also understanding that you're never going to understand it totally, and that's okay. And to find the place in your own space to be okay with it, because you know that this child is a separate and whole, complete being, a complete soul being that has their own journey.
Born that way.
And even though they emerged from your body, they're as soon as they left that body, they're whole and complete in themselves. And we each have a complete soul that has its own journey. And so I also want to encourage parents to see their children as some of their best teachers, because Oliver has certainly been one of mine.
So that lends itself to my next question really, really well. When we look at this from a higher perspective as well, and there, whoever we're with in our little soul units that we call family are there by design, by choice. So you're kind of a unique mom, would you say, Oliver, in some ways? In the good ways, we mean. No coincidence that you're here together in this journey. You've been on my show before. You're a professional psychic and medium, and actually you channel beings from another dimension. You've written a book with Mike Dooley. They can look at the other shows to get more information. But from a spiritual, I'd love to hear from a spiritual and intuitive perspective, how do you view Oliver and others going through similar struggles and changes sort of in the bigger picture of spiritual evolution through those eyes?
Well, I think that there's no coincidences. You know, we're going through a massive shift of consciousness right now in our world, in the universe. And part of that shift of consciousness has to do with identity and how we identify ourselves, and taking a broader view on that, and wanting to not box ourselves in, as Oliver has so well stated here, so that, you know, we can be free to explore other aspects of ourselves without being judged. So, you know, I think that Oliver came here as part of the shift very intentionally to help us to take a broader view, to be more compassionate, to open our hearts to something we might not understand or be able to relate to, but be able to see as something that is really amazingly expansive. And to me, that's where we are. We are expanding. We're getting offered the opportunity to expand our viewpoint And the kids who are exploring their identities, like Oliver, they're really facilitating that expansion and allowing us the opportunity to see something that we may not have ever considered even in ourselves. So Oliver has taught me a lot about my own gender identity and how I express that, and his budding confidence, actually, I feel like it's also helping me with mine.
We're all teachers and students for one another. So I wholeheartedly agree, of course, with everything that you've just shared. How do you feel, Oliver, when you hear what your mom says and sheds that light on it?
I'm so grateful, to have a mom as good as she is. 'Cause, a lot of my trans friends are just people I know who are trans. They can often be put in a situation where their family isn't the best with their identity. It breaks my heart to see, kids who don't have a support system. And I'm just so fortunate to have like a mom as good as she is, and like to have so much love in my life.
Indeed. And to be able to express that as well.
Yeah.
That energy is going out right now, right as we speak, from right here out there as well. So any sort of just final words, just to kind of wrap up, any final message, little, that you'd like to offer, Oliver, and then Tracy?
I think that as a whole we should all work to look into ourselves more and consider our identities and start being more loving to people that we don't understand, who are just trying to explore themselves. Like change is always scary, but the world is changing and it's for the better for all of us in terms of our identities and how we view ourselves.
Beautiful.
And I think as a parent, again, the idea of respect, if your kid wants to use pronouns that you're not used to, I think, respecting that and making a really sincere effort to go along with that. It took me a while to get used to that, and I would mess up it a lot, and with the change in the name and the change in the pronouns, and I still occasionally, it kind of slips out because we've had a long time,
Of course. It's not like overnight,
right? And Oliver's always been very gracious and generous with me, and I would feel bad sometimes when it would just slip out, and but.
He's quick to forgive, I'm sure.
I think it's just the idea that I was making an effort, and that I wanted to, get used to it, to respect Oliver's sense of identity. I think that's really important. If someone, asks to be referred to in a certain way, then I think we need to go along with that. Again, whether we agree with it or not. And
especially people we love.
All right, and if it's a young child and they change their mind, then you change with them. Change with them, and again, support their journey in every step of the way.
This is big stuff. This is big, important stuff. I think we're planting seeds, all of us. We'd like to see some wonderful changes happen in our lifetimes. So, Oliver and Tracy, thank you so much for what you've shared, for being so open, and for being here on Positive Energy. And Oliver, of course, I wish you the best.
Thank you.
In college and beyond. I know that you will excel. And thank you for being so bold and heart-centered and coming on the show and sharing your story. I'm sure it's going to help. So go Oliver. Go Tracy. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're wrapping up another enlightening show. What's your ideal vision of the world? My vision is a world of inclusion, where every person feels embraced and celebrated as the exceptional being who lives at the hub of their heart and soul. Thank you, Monday Morning Flowers, for the beautiful floral arrangement. Thank you for watching. Check out MicheleGranberg.com and join me next time on Positive Energy.